All right, let's dive into one of the biggest debates in the entire tech world. We're talking about the two fundamental ways we organize pretty much everything in our digital lives. This is the story of SQL versus NoSQL.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about it? Every single time you post something online, buy something, or even check your bank balance, all that information has to go somewhere. It has to be stored and organized. But how does that actually happen? Well, that's the exact problem that databases were invented to solve.
To really get our heads around this, let's use a simple analogy. On one side, you've got SQL. Think of it like a perfectly organized filing cabinet. Every file has its own labeled folder, everything is in alphabetical order, and you know exactly where to find anything you need. Then you've got NoSQL. This is more like a giant duffel bag. You can just throw anything and everything in there. Your laptop, your gym shoes, half a sandwich. It's super fast, super easy, and it holds a ton of stuff.
So let's start with that filing cabinet, the OG of the data world, SQL. This has been the gold standard for decades, and trust me, there's a very, very good reason for that.
The name really says it all. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. And that word, structured, is everything. At its core, an SQL database is basically a collection of tables that look a lot like spreadsheets. And the most important part, the rules for what goes in those tables are set in stone before you even put a single piece of data in there.
So what do you get for all that structure? Well, first off, your data is neatly organized in tables, and the schema, the rules, is fixed. This gives you incredible data integrity. You'll also hear the term ACD compliant. Now that sounds super technical, but it's really just a promise. It's a guarantee of rock-solid reliability, where every transaction is all or nothing. Think about your bank. You want that kind of promise.
And this right here is a perfect simple example. Take a look at this users table. The columns are crystal clear: a user ID, a name, and an email. If you want to add a new person, they have to fit this structure. There are no exceptions. It's predictable, it's orderly, it's clean.
Okay, so that's the world of order. But what about that duffel bag we talked about? Let's flip the script and talk about the world of NoSQL, which was basically built for the wild, chaotic, and massive scale of the modern internet. Again, the name is a huge clue. NoSQL literally means not only SQL. You can tell it was created as a direct response to how rigid the old-school databases were. Its entire purpose in life is to handle huge, messy amounts of data that just won't fit into neat little tables, and to do it all with incredible speed and scale. Flexibility is the name of the game here. The schemas are dynamic, which means you can pretty much change the rules on the fly. It's perfect for all that unstructured data out there like social media posts or sensor readings. And here's the real kicker. It's designed to scale out. That just means instead of buying one insanely expensive super server, you just keep adding more and more cheaper computers to the network.
Yeah, and this is a really important thing to get. NoSQL isn't just one thing. It's more like a family, a whole collection of different kinds of databases. You've got document databases like MongoDB, lightning-fast key-value stores like Redis, and even these really cool graph databases that are perfect for mapping out complex connections, like in a social network.
So remember that super rigid SQL table for our user, John? Well, here's what he looks like in the NoSQL world. It's just a simple, self-contained document. Now here's the magic. What if, for our next user, we also want to save their location? In the NoSQL world, you just add it. You don't have to go back and rewrite the rules for the whole database. That's the power of flexibility.
Okay, so we've met the filing cabinet, and we've met the duffel bag, the world of order and the world of flexibility. Now it's time to put them head to head and really explore the great divide between them.
When you get right down to it, this is all about two completely different philosophies. We already talked about how SQL lives by ACID, that promise of perfect consistency. Well, NoSQL often lives by a different philosophy called base. And what that really means is that availability is king. The top priority is making sure the system is always online and always fast, even if it means some data might take a split second to get perfectly in sync everywhere.
This table is basically the perfect cheat sheet. Just look at the differences. Schema, fixed versus dynamic. Scalability, this is a big one. SQL scales up. You buy one bigger, badder server. NoSQL scales out. You just add more servers to the group. It all comes down to a fundamental trade-off. Do you want the strongest possible data integrity, or do you want mind-blowing scalability?
So let's just lay it all out. The pros for SQL? Its consistency is unmatched. You can trust it, and it's a technology that's been proven for decades. The downside? That rigid structure can really be a pain sometimes. And trying to scale up by buying bigger hardware can get incredibly expensive fast.
And what about NoSQL?
Well, the pros are huge. It can scale to the moon, its flexibility is amazing, and it's built for performance with big data. The catch? You're trading away some of that guaranteed consistency, and since it's a whole family of databases, there isn't one single, universal language you can learn that works for all of them.
All right, so we've got these two powerhouse approaches to handling data, but they couldn't be more different. And that brings us, of course, to the most important question of all.
Which one actually wins? Is it the perfectly organized filing cabinet or the infinitely flexible duffel bag? The reliable old veteran or the flashy, scalable newcomer?
And the answer is, it's a trick question. Neither one is better. Or maybe a better way to put it is that both are best. See, this was never about one replacing the other. It's about having the right tool for the right job.
You reach for SQL when there is absolutely zero room for error.
We're talking about things like a banking system. When it's your money, you want every single transaction to be perfect, every single time. In those situations, consistency is king, period.
And you reach for NoSQL when you're dealing with an absolute fire hose of data, and your main goals are just speed and staying online. Think about a social media feed. Is it the end of the world if a like takes half a second longer to show up for someone on the other side of the planet? Nope. What really matters is that the feed loads instantly every time you open the app.
And this is really where it all comes together. Just look at a modern e-commerce application. They don't choose one or the other. They use both. The parts that have to be bulletproof, like your user account info and your order history, that's all handled by SQL. But the massive product catalog with millions of items and the constant stream of new customer reviews, that's a perfect job for NoSQL. They work together, each playing to its own unique strengths.
So you see, this isn't a story about one technology killing another. It's a story about our digital toolbox getting bigger and more powerful. And as the amount of data in the world continues to explode, the real question isn't which world is going to win. The much more interesting question is, how are we going to keep blending the best of both, order and flexibility, to build whatever comes next?